way is Bill Fisher. I'm the CEO of Plum Lending. As many of you probably know, Plum Lending is a national commercial real estate lender. We provide capital to investors across a variety of commercial real estate asset classes. And tonight, we're going to have a conversation with John Nottingham. John is the co-CEO of Nottingham Spirk, and Nottingham Spirk helps corporate innovators to grow their businesses by partnering with them from design all the way to delivery to create great product innovations. And recently they completed what is in my view, remarkable redevelopment project that Plum, my firm, helped them fund that building in Cleveland. So we'll shortly dive into a conversation with John about that project and the future of the work in the offices in general. Just before we do, though, brief promotional announcement. The reason that Plum is sponsoring these events, we want to support the commercial real estate investor community. Tonight, we're trying to support by sharing knowledge, but during the days, what we do at Plum is try to provide great funding partnership to investors. Our watchwords are certainty of execution for investors, as well as offering white glove service. So if you're listening tonight or listening to this broadcast and you're an investor and you want us to know about some project that you have, please feel free to email us at insight@plumlending.com. Let us know a little bit of information about what you're working on, and we'll get back to you promptly. So that's announcement number one. Announcement number two is we plan to do many of these events, and we want to feature people who are doing very interesting things in commercial real estate as speakers. So you who are listening could also be invited to broadcast your stories and knowledge to a national audience, as well as those in your community. So if you want to be a speaker at one of our future events, just message us using the Meetup platform or the email that I just mentioned, which again is investors@plumlending.com. And then now to the interview. I have a number of questions for John Nottingham, but we also want to hear, those of you who are listening in, we want to hear your questions and thoughts. So please write your questions into the chat. We'll be collecting those questions as we go along, and then we'll have a chance to try to answer those. We'll also, at the end of the session, have a chance for you to ask any questions that you may have live. John Nottingham, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Bill, and thank you and Plum for being such great partners in this venture.
No, that's great. Tell us, John, I know you and your partner founded Nottingham Spirk. Tell us a little bit about Nottingham Spirk.
Well, I graduated from design school in the same school that he graduated in. We both got job offers that would have taken us out of Cleveland. Mine was to General Motors, and we turned them down. We found a garage and started a company, much like many entrepreneurs do.
That's great.
And we started designing and developing products for companies, many small, many big, and we've grown ever since. And we were outgrowing, we went from the garage to two facilities in the University Circle area of Cleveland, which is a very cool place to have an innovation company and design company. And we're outgrowing those two places. So around the year 2000, 2001, 2002, we started looking for a place where we could consolidate. But we really wanted a building that would be unique for an innovation company. And I had the benefit of touring Pixar studios in San Francisco. And their building, as many know, is called the Steve Jobs Building. And it's designed for innovation. It's designed for vertically integrated innovation. In this case, with Pixar, it's animation and movies. They designed it with a central core and stacked floors, maybe 5 stories around the central core. They designed the central core with the restrooms on one side and the cafeteria on the other side, so that people would bump into each other and interact with each other during the day. And the company was designed to be vertically integrated in that you had animators and directors and voiceover and writers and all the people that were involved in a movie to be involved in this cool innovation space. So when I saw this church building near in Cleveland, it was a Christian Science church, and guess what? It had a central atrium, a rotunda actually, and 5 stories stacked around where we could put our vertically integrated staff of 75 people, made up of designers, engineers, prototype technicians, MBAs that do customer insights and commercialization. And so we found this church. It was designed in 1930. It was built in 1930 for 1,000 members. Around the year 2000, it was down to about 50. They just couldn't keep it up. And they regretfully put it on the market. They didn't want to, but they just had to. There were only 2 bidders on the property. One was a real estate developer, wanted to tear it down and put up condos here. We were the ones that wanted to save the building and repurpose it for a 24/7 innovation center.
Could I ask a question, John? What gave you the confidence, being at that time, I assume, relatively new to commercial real estate? What gave you the confidence that you could take on this massive real estate project and transform what we're looking at here on the screen to something that would fit your Pixar vision?
Well, we walked in, we were curious first. We walked in, and when you see the front doors there, that is actually the 4th floor. The backside is on a hill. There's 3 floors below, so it's kind of like an iceberg. The building is 66,000 square feet. And what we found was the first 2 floors, we could put our design and creative staff. But in the lower level, which was a Sunday school, was a very large open area that was a Sunday school, where we could build our prototypes, we could make noise, we could kick dust, we could, do that kind of things, almost a factory-like setting downstairs. You wouldn't believe it would be this kind of a building. And we had the confidence that, yeah, we could make this building work for our programmatic ideas, especially with this sort of the way that Pixar did it in San Francisco.
Got it. Well, look, it looks like maybe we've got a couple of other slides, and maybe if you want to cue those up, maybe you could walk us through some of the different features of what you built out in this iconic building.
Oh yeah. So as you see that this first slide, the rotunda, which you'll see in the inside in a minute, the rotunda is bigger in diameter than the U.S. Capitol rotunda, just to give you an idea of scale.
Wow.
The tower, which interestingly enough was built to disguise a smokestack because it was a coal burner, and it's 150 feet tall. The statue part of the Statue of Liberty is shorter than that tower, just to give you an idea. So a lot of cool little features in it. It's when you have a historic building, what you do is we also got historical tax credits for renovating the building and keeping the historic fabric, which is kind of cool. By the way, the West Wing, do you see to the left, was an additional building, and we designed it to be sort of innocuous. We didn't want to compete with the historical part of the building, so we just gave it a curved roof. We put the same kind of stone facade on it, but we didn't want to call attention to itself. We wanted it to be complementary to the building.
Sure.
And you don't see it here, but the connector is glass, so that you don't visually connect to the building.
I see. You want to forward then to, I think you've got another slide here.
Yeah, this is a close-up of the tower itself. Very cool details. Our clients love coming here. They think it's just the coolest thing. And many of our clients are Fortune 500 clients. They're middle market clients. They are startup ventures. They're all involved in creating products to create growth for their manufacturing companies. This shot is interesting. We are in an unbelievably great section of Cleveland. What you see in the background is University Circle, which is the Cleveland Clinic, which I'm on the board of the Cleveland Clinic. I'm on the boards of Case Western Reserve, which is a little bit to the right, and also University Hospitals. So what a great place to have an innovation center. And by the way, some of the products that we design and invent are medical devices. So it's really great to have all of these resources at our fingertips.
So I'm just curious, being a historic building, you must have run up against a slew of regulatory hoops that you had to jump through in order to get the freedom to build out in the way you wanted to?
Now, you know what? We view those kinds of regulations and constraints the same way when we're doing a medical device, the same way we think about going through the FDA. What we do when we started this project, and also when we started a medical device product, we meet with the regulatory agents before we start. And we help them help us create the plan that it's a win-win situation for both parties. And actually, the process is very nice. We work with the Ohio Office of Historic Preservation. I think they will tell you, we will tell you, it was a wonderful experience. We loved the building. We respected the building. We respected the history. And, it worked out extremely well.
That's a very smart thing to get them involved up front.
Yeah.
I see we have another picture coming up of the interior.
Yes. Okay, take a look at that. So isn't that cool? This is the rotunda. Like I said, it's bigger than the US Capitol. At the very front, you'll see the organ. The organ is 5,000 pipes. It was the last Hook and Hastings organ ever built. It's a pipe organ. We have digitized it, so we use MIDI files that we can play any songs. And we're very close to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which of course is here in Cleveland. And we have rock groups come in, and when the Talking Heads were here, we had them play the organ and sign it.
Oh, that's great. That is great.
And our designers and engineers and creatives love this space. Church architecture is designed to make you feel beyond yourself. It's designed for inspiration.
Yeah.
And guess what? An innovation company needs the same kind of architecture.
And if you don't mind, John, what are we seeing here? There's a lower level where something's going on, and then on this upper level, is this offices
Yes.
overlooking the lower level? Maybe you could just give us a walkthrough.
Yeah. So the upper level is the 5th floor. It's basically a balcony. It goes all around the rotunda. And there are offices. There's an open office system all the way around. And then what you're looking in the 4th floor is the design floor. And again, there's offices all around that. And 1 floor below that is engineering, and 2 floors below that are the greatest prototyping shop you'll ever see.
Oh, fantastic. I think we have a picture of another floor here.
So the other news was, and something that Plum was extremely helpful, is that you've heard of the accounting and the audit firm Ernst & Young, EY. EY is is the largest consulting firm in the world. It's $44 billion. It's 300,000 employees. But we were lucky enough to win the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award in 2017. They discovered us, we discovered them, and we decided to form an equal partnership where they would come into our space and they would build out that West Wing that I pointed out and put several $1 million into designing an advanced manufacturing center where we can help manufacturers take their factories from factory 3.0 to factory 4.0 digitization of manufacturing. Every factory in the United States and globally is dealing with this need to get digital for their factories, to rather than people going around their factories with clipboards, sensorize and digitize all of their functions into what we call a digital twin, where the factory owner can see on a video screen every piece and part and production, and they can model out what's going on in the factory. So this is one of the areas. We have 4 breakout rooms. You want to go to the next one? This is one of our sessions. We are hosting a Fortune 50 company every week. I just got through with a group that came in, 40 people on a corporate jet. They landed in the downtown Cleveland airport, and we shuttled them in here for a 2-day session to bring their biggest problems, and they were mesmerized by what they saw. This is one of our groups within our rotunda. And the next one. Then we have what's called a wave space. This is the second floor of that West Wing that I showed you. And at the very end, that is a 20-foot by 8-foot video touchscreen. They tell us that it's the most advanced video screen in the world. It cost $1 million just for that screen.
Good Lord.
We can bring our corporate clients in here. They can have their other members, if they can't physically come here, they come in digitally on Teams or Zoom on one of the ends of that screen. And we'll spend a whole morning, with graphics and video touchscreens and just creating great things. What an interesting space. It's a very high technology. You have to see it to believe it.
It looks fantastic, and an incredible transformation of the building. From start to finish, what was the time frame? So you purchased, and then by when did it look like what we're seeing on these slides?
Well, it's really in 2 phases. So we purchased the building in around 2005, the actual church building. And that planning and the planning took about a year, and the construction took about a year. And then in 2019, we started planning for this build out for the West Wing. And that also took a little less than a year to plan and about a year to build.
Got it. And then, having been involved in a number of construction projects in my career, there's always a few things that come up that you never imagined would come up. What would have been some of the key surprises that you faced along the way?
Well, Bill, we're in the innovation business, and we were innovating this so again, we look at totally different. It was just the same way we looked at the regulatory. We embraced when a problem came up, we solved it. A problem came up, we solved it. And by the way, I got to give Plum a plug here. You guys were so great partners. You were wonderful to work with. The financing aspect was just a dream, and it worked out really, really well.
Thank you for that. We very much appreciate those kind words. On the overall project, maybe without giving away any of your secret sauce, you would share with the audience kind of what's the overall financial plan for the building and then the project in general. How does it grow and throw off profits?
For perspective, somebody said you couldn't build the original church building. It's built like a battleship. It's Indiana limestone and it's steel frame. I've had contractors said, if you had to build this again, if you could, what would it cost? They came back, it would be north of $100 million to reproduce this building.
Oh my goodness.
And the way, way over $1,000 a square foot. And so when we purchased it, the purchase and the renovation was about $15 million. And then when we added that west wing that you see right there, it's an additional $5 million. So we got $20 million in the building.
And then, of course, since you've owned this building and renovated it, something has come along that we've all had to suffer through called COVID. How has the COVID environment and the challenges of that? I know you embrace challenges, but how has this building responded to the necessities and the vagaries of COVID?
Well, okay, that's a great question, and I'll tell you. You can imagine Ernst & Young, a $44 billion global enterprise, has a lot of construction projects in any given year. What they did the year that this was done, they shut down everything. Zero construction project except for this one. This is the only construction project they had for the entire firm. We were so convincing that it was needed. And what we said, here's what we said. Yes, everybody's coming in on Zoom and nobody's traveling, but this isn't going to last forever. And when the pandemic lifts, people are going to be hungry to come in person. And we painted that vision to the chairman of the company in the UK, which is a UK company now. We convinced them. We were convincing, and they green-lighted this project over every other project in the entire firm.
That is fantastic.
And we were right. When the pandemic lifted, everybody comes in. It reminds me when my kids came back from summer camp, when they were leaving, that's the look on their face. They come in and it changes their lives. They come in and they have problems. We turn them into solutions, and we have a game plan for solving their most egregious manufacturing and innovation and product innovation problems.
What a terrific success story around innovation and entrepreneurship, as well as commercial real estate. Why don't we turn now to any questions that have come up from our audience? I don't know if we've had any that have come up from chat that Michael may want to repeat. I'm sure these questions would be directed primarily to John.
No problem. Don't worry, guys. We have about 15 questions. So I guess question number one from Nick is what did your team look like for the scope of this project to do this?
Yeah, please.
What did your team look like to complete a project like this?
Well, so we, while we were building the project, are you talking about the West Wing or the original building, do you think?
I think primarily just like your internal team to take it on. So probably the original building to start.
Well, so we were doing the building while we're doing our product innovation, and we treated the building as a product innovation. So we had a project manager, and we had our experts from different areas, technology and other things while we were constructing it. So this is just one of our, we treated it just like another project in our portfolio. We're typically doing about 20 projects at any given, product development projects at any one time. So this was 21.
Got it. Daniel wants to know, this is good opportunity to talk about. your company, what are some of the largest products that have been created at the property?
I guarantee everybody listening in has 20 products in their home that we've designed. And I'll just rattle off a few. If you've ever had a Little Tikes toy, if you've ever had a Dirt Devil vacuum cleaner, if you've ever had a Swiffer sweeper vac, or a Crest spin brush, or some of our medical products they've used in the hospital for sure through Medtronic and other companies. We just, a lot of packaging things. There's a mouthwash called Smart Mouth, the Pepto-Bismol package, the Pampers package that you use today, Sure deodorant, Secret deodorant, wide oval solid. I could go on and on. We are responsible. We've co-created 1,400 patents that we've assigned to our client companies. And with vertical innovation, we have a very significant commercialization rate. To give you a perspective, of all US patents ever issued, there's been 11 million US patents, only 5% get commercialized. You can look it up. It's an awful number. Of our 1,400 patents, 95% have been commercialized because of vertically integrated innovation in this building.
Wow. John, if I could ask a question, how do you, what is your selection process? I'm sure you're approached by a variety of people with a variety of ideas. What's your selection process for who you choose to work with in productizing their ideas?
Well, we look for big ideas. We don't look for little ideas. So we look for ideas that have a market that is at least 100 million in sales to $1 billion in sales. So when we created the Crest spin brush, the spin brush became the largest selling electric toothbrush of all time, the Crest spin brush. We have made over 1 billion of those electric toothbrushes. And the market penetration before the spin brush was 1% penetration of electric toothbrushes versus manual. After spin brush, it went up to 30%.
Wow. That's a great track record. Mike, what other questions can we pose to John?
We've got a lot, don't worry. Okay, Paige asks, how did you first find the building?
Well, it's funny. We're in this University Circle area at Case Western Reserve, and we've sort of asked around. We didn't want to move out of the University Circle. It's an urban area. We thought we'd have to go back out to the suburbs. So we asked around, and Case Western, somebody at Case Western knew that we were looking, and they called us up and they said, that church is for sale up on the hill. And we said, really? Go up and take a look. So we were kind of curious. And when we saw the downstairs where we could build our prototypes, we were sold.
Great. John, you mentioned this a bit, but John asked about if you can talk a bit about the process of getting the historic tax credits.
Yes. So that's very, it's good to have a consultant that has gone through historical tax credits before, because you need to align yourself with an expert with a big track record. That's my advice to somebody. We did have one of the best in the country. This person got his first big project was the Heinz project, the Heinz ketchup factory in Pittsburgh, where they renovated that and turned it into condos. And then he did the Book Cadillac Hotel in Detroit. So he had done a lot of things around Cleveland. So we knew that he had a track record, and we really utilized his help big time. That is it's not for the faint of hearts, but we found the historical tax credits, and we got $9 million of tax credits.
Great.
Okay, a lot more questions. Sorry, I'm just trying to get through all these. Some people are sending them directly to me too. Do innovation spaces need special things versus regular office, and do they get a premium? I assume they mean premium on rents.
I have a funny story to tell you. So, so I was advising Ohio University, and they wanted to do an innovation space. And I said, you know what? You got to go out. I mean, see our place, but go out to Pixar and really benchmark Pixar. And they did. And they came back and they told me a funny story. They said, we went out to Pixar and we found out that when Pixar was acquired by Disney, their accountant said, hey, we need to expand. We need to have another, Pixar satellite. But instead of doing the central atrium with the stacked floors and other else, they just did a regular office building. And what happened was the group that was in that regular office building weren't nearly as innovative and productive as the one in the Steve Jobs building.
That's great.
That tells you about innovation spaces.
That's great. It's good to hear. It's not just cool. It works. So sorry, I'm just continuing to look through this. Okay. One of the questions that came directly to me was, I guess this is more of a manufacturing question. And it's, do you think there's an opportunity in spaces for manufacturing in the US? And how can real estate investors capture that?
Well, okay. I will tell you that reshoring and digitization of manufacturing and automation of manufacturing, there is going to be a huge jump back to the United States for manufacturing. We have seen a hunger. It's something that real estate investors ought to be taking very seriously because it is a trend that's not going to stop.
Another question is, how is automation and technology and work from home affecting commercial spaces like this in general? I think they mean like, how would this be different than it would have been if you had built the space 10 years ago?
Well, it's funny because we're doing prototyping. You cannot phone in a prototype. I'm sorry. You have to be here. So through the pandemic, we were here. We were here on site. Now, does that mean that we're not doing Zoom and Teams calls? No, we do that. But the collaboration in person, especially with vertically integrated teams, it's better to be person to person.
Yeah.
Another question is asking about the tax situation. And basically, I think this is sort of a depreciation question. They say, was the favorable tax situation for real estate in terms of being able to depreciate parts of the property one of the reasons you consider this investment?
Well, depreciation certainly is handy, and it certainly comes in handy. So we use every tax advantage that we can. We have great experts, not only on historical tax credits and basically accounting principles, including accelerated depreciation.
Let's see. I guess this one might be a question for you and Bill. Was financing challenging given the scope of the project?
It was not. We were fortunate to align ourselves with experts and great partners, and I say that Plum was a wonderful partner in this whole venture. They worked with us. They were very supportive, and it just worked seamlessly, I think.
Yeah, and by the way, I just say for my part, in addition to John, obviously has accomplished a great deal in innovation along with his partner, John Spirk, but they're of course supported by a fantastic team. And we worked with many of their team members, including some of their outside finance people like Dan Gibble and then inside Lillian, and working with their team was a pleasure. We got all of the information we needed in order to make early, positive, favorable decisions, give them certainty of execution, and happy to say both John and his partner confirmed to me after the funding when I called them to ask how it went that we had definitely delivered on our white glove service. So I would second John's emotion on all that.
Great. I agree.
Let's see. Okay, a couple more questions we have. I think either of you can, they ask for Plum, but I think either of you can talk about this. What do you think of Cleveland as a market for investment?
Well, I'll start. Cleveland is on a resurgence, and this was the hotbed of manufacturing back in the early part of the 20th century, and it fell on like every place else, manufacturing when it went offshore. But why did Ernst & Young plan their global manufacturing digitization center in Cleveland? Because they voted on Cleveland. They were comparing us with New York, and they planted themselves here in Cleveland. That tells you a lot when a $44 billion consulting firm bets on Cleveland. Cleveland and places in the Midwest particularly are ripe for the next generation of real estate investment.
Yeah, and I would just underscore that by saying at Plum, we chose to focus on what are called in the parlance of the commercial real estate industry, secondary cities. Although what's happened is, in part because of COVID, there's been a mass exodus from big gateway cities, primary markets, and into these secondary cities. And secondary is a misnomer. When you look at the growth in GDP, when you look at the growth in population, when you look at new construction, these are the primary cities of tomorrow. So we've been delighted to be offering financing in Cleveland, in many of the secondary cities around the US, Sacramento, Columbia, South Carolina, Madison, Wisconsin. That is part and parcel of our imprimatur as a national lender. We believe in the hyper growth potential of some of these markets where everybody is now moving to.
Right. And, Cuyahoga County, where Cleveland is headquartered here, Cuyahoga County has a bigger GDP than 9 states. Think about that. And Ohio is the 3rd largest manufacturing state. So, and growing faster than the other states. So if you're thinking about real estate investing, oh no, by the way, this historic tax credit idea is probably bigger in this Cleveland area because of the expertise we have than other cities that I've seen. So lots and lots of opportunity in the Midwest, as Bill said, quote unquote, secondary cities. It's got a low cost of living. It's got, these weather events don't hit us, the fires and the hurricanes and all that kind of thing. It doesn't affect us much. We have a few months of cold weather, but we have 4 nice seasons, change of seasons. So we're next to the largest source of fresh water in the world. We don't have a water problem. So this is, the next 10 years is going to be big for a city like Cleveland.
Mike, maybe we have time for one more of your chat questions, and then maybe we could turn to live questions if anyone has a live question they want to ask.
Sounds good. All right. So I guess one last question. This is kind of a funny one. If you have a quick answer, maybe we'll do 2. Would you take on a project like this again?
Absolutely. In fact, I want to talk to Bill about another one across the street.
Good.
That's great. We'll be anxious to hear about that.
That's right.
I guess, Bill, I'll unmute everyone right now so we can, let me just do this. So then anyone who wants, give me 1 second to unmute everyone. And then, okay. Anyone who wants to unmute can unmute right now if you want to ask a question live. And so feel free to chime in and ask a question if you like.
Not everyone at once now.
If no one asks questions, we can always go to the last couple questions I skipped.
Yeah, let's go to those. I'm
Okay.
not hearing anything.
All right. Well, everyone's still unmuted, so feel free to ask a question if you like. Let's see if you don't have a question, right? It looks like you're trying to say something. Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No worries at all. Okay. Well, if you have questions, feel free. Okay. The last couple questions that we did not get to before are sorry.
You're in
Oh.
scrutiny, apparently.
Sorry about that. Oh yeah, what is this is sort of a Plum question. But maybe either of you can talk about it. Bill, what do we look for in office sponsors or office investors or office projects that to make them seem financeable?
So first of all, we focus on secondary markets. So we look for projects that are in secondary markets for all the reasons that we've already discussed. We are interested in long-term relationships. So we tend to look for people who are active in the market and are serial owners, or at least have the ambition to be serial owners. We like to get to know our owners. We like to be entering into a long-term relationship. We think that serves them best, and we think it serves us best. Of course, we look for, particularly in some of these smaller markets, we look for, like John Nottingham and his partner John Spirk, we look for leaders in the community. We like our brand to be associated with leading figures in these small markets. Might be a leading commercial real estate investor, might be a leading entrepreneur like John here, but we look for some of the pillars of the local community. Beyond that, again, like most commercial real estate investors, we're looking for a building that has good cash flow and good prospects, and an owner that's committed to the long term for that building.
Great. I think this might be one of the last questions, and you talked about this a little bit before, but can you talk about the they say the EY partnership, and was that something that you brought in pre or post financing?
It was pre. We started. It always starts with an idea, and it sort of goes from there. And we found the EY group just incredibly easy to work with, and we're like brothers now. We finish each other's sentences, and it's a very interesting partnership between a small boutique innovation company and a huge consulting company. And there's a hunger on both sides to work together, and it just is working out very well. And more importantly, it's working out for our clients. We are being very effective to those clients. We are going to change the business model of these. Today we had a very large group from the third largest restaurant chain in the country. And we're going to help them double in size in the next 10 years.
That's terrific.
I think those are almost all of our questions. Apologies if I missed any of them, but I think I got all of them.
We'll conclude, and I'll conclude by thanking John Nottingham for joining the event and by being generous with his time to share about his terrific transformation of this building. And I don't mind mentioning in that thank you, congratulations on all of his success, not just in building a successful business, but in bringing so much innovation. And I had no idea how many products I have in my own household that have come out of the operation that we've all seen here today. Plum, of course, is very pleased to have partnered with John and his partner in helping with this commercial real estate project. A pleasure to have you here, John. Thanks to everybody who's listening and to everybody who will listen to this broadcast. So with that, we'll say good night, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.